Even silence has its own echo. Sometimes it speaks louder than any voice. There was once a boy who conquered the stages of China and the hearts of the West. His name was Dimash. But the Dimash we know is only what the light shows. Behind that light, another world breathes. 2015, his first great stage. 2017, the world's astonishment. 2019, the silence of exhaustion. 2020, the breaking and the rebirth. This is not just the story of fame, but of a soul that lost its voice and found it again. We have heard his songs. Now, let us hear his silence.
1994, June 24th. In the western Kazakh city of Aktobe, a child was born, Dimash Qudaibergen. Music filled his home. Both his parents were singers, and melodies floated through every corner. For Dimash, music wasn't just sound, it was breath. 1999. He was 5. A small stage, a tiny microphone, bright lights. The audience waited, and he sang. That evening, under the warm glow of spotlights, something awakened inside him. Destiny had spoken. 2001. At 7, he began learning the piano. Notes, rhythm, harmony, everything fascinated him. He practiced for hours, his little fingers trembling but determined. 2003. 9 years old, he started to sing more seriously, shaping his tone, learning to control emotion. Music became not a hobby, but a heartbeat. 2006. At 12, he composed his first melody. A soft, sad tune, simple but sincere. He played it for his mother. She smiled with tears in her eyes. 2010. 16 years old. Dimash stood in front of his classmates and said quietly, "I was born to sing." He didn't say it with pride, he said it with certainty. Every song he sang that year carried emotion far beyond his age. 2012. 18. He entered the national singing competition, Jas Kanat. 3 days, dozens of songs. When the results were announced, 180 points out of 180. The maximum. No one had ever done it before. That night, a star was born. 2013. He joined the Kazakh National University of Arts. His mornings were filled with practice, nights with silence. And in that silence, he often battled doubt. He feared stillness, because silence made him feel invisible. 2014. Dimash began experimenting with genres: pop, opera, folk. He studied vocal technique obsessively, searching for perfection. Friends described him as the quiet one who never stops singing. 2015. 21 years old, he traveled to Belarus for the Slavyansky Bazaar, one of the most respected music contests in Europe. When he sang in French, the audience froze. People didn't understand the words, but they felt every emotion. It wasn't just a performance, it was a confession of the soul. He won the Grand Prix. Yet afterward, he sat in silence, asking himself, what comes next? 2016. At 22, a message arrived from China. A producer invited him to join I Am a Singer, a show watched by millions. It was a chance that could change his life forever. He accepted. January 2017. Changzhou, China. The stage lights were blinding. Dimash walked out calmly, dressed in white. The orchestra began, and then his voice. SOS d'un terrien en détresse. The first note cut through the air like glass. The audience gasped. Some wept. They weren't just hearing a voice. They were witnessing something unearthly. That performance went viral. Overnight, the world learned his name. He became an international sensation. But behind the applause, exhaustion. Behind the fame, loneliness. In one quiet interview that year, Dimash said, "Sometimes I fear silence, because when I'm silent, I feel like I disappear." Late at night, alone in his hotel room, he would sit by the window, watching the city lights fade, and whisper, "Are you okay, Dimash?" There was no answer, only the echo of his own heartbeat. By the end of 2017, he was 23, loved by millions, but quietly fighting to stay true to himself. Every song, every performance was both light and shadow. That year changed everything. It wasn't just the rise of a star, it was the birth of a legend and the beginning of an inner battle that no stage could ever show.
2018. After I Am a Singer, Dimash's life changed forever. Overnight, he became a global name. But behind the fame, silence. Every stage, every crowd, every cheer hid the quiet sound of exhaustion. He performed Adagio, Opera 2, and The Show Must Go On. That same year, his fans created a worldwide community called Dear. They didn't see him only as a singer, but as something almost ethereal. Yet this was the year he first felt fatigue. Some days his voice trembled. Some nights he couldn't sleep. He was fighting not the stage, but himself. In one rare interview, he said softly, "A voice should have limits, but I can't seem to stop." 2019. His first solo concert. Arnau. Astana. 70,000 people. The night sky was wide and alive, and his voice filled it like light through rain. Every note was both pride and pain. But later, in a quiet journal entry, he wrote, "The world smiles at me, but sometimes I'm afraid of my own voice, because it knows how lonely I truly am." 2020. The pandemic. The world fell silent, and Dimash, alone in his studio, found new music in that silence. He recorded Be With Me and Your Love. His voice became softer, deeper, more human. When everyone else stopped performing, he didn't. He sang to empty rooms, and yet millions listened. Still, that year, rumors began to spread. He's quitting. He's ill. He's lost his voice. But they were wrong. The truth was simpler. He was just tired. A man, not a myth. 2021. Dimash returned with Stranger, a haunting song, both dark and hopeful. He was no longer trying to impress the world. He was trying to understand himself. On stage, he seemed calm, but his eyes told another story. He once said, "Even when I stand in the light, my shadow never leaves me, because it is part of me." 2022. He launched his world tour, One Vision, Europe, America, Asia. Thousands waited city after city just to hear that one voice. In some places, airports were blocked by fans. In others, police escorted him through crowds that screamed his name. He smiled, but inside he wondered how long he could keep shining. On certain nights, he knelt on stage, tears in his eyes. It wasn't performance, it was release. 2023. He came home. Kazakhstan. After years abroad, Dimash performed again on native soil. The stage was simple, the lighting gentle, but the emotion overwhelming. As he sang, rain began to fall. Soft, endless, cleansing. Many said it felt like heaven was listening. At the end of the concert, he whispered, "For me, the highest stage is this land." 2024. Dimash began work on a new project, The Story Never Ends. It was not just music, it was reflection. His voice grew deeper, wiser. His lyrics carried philosophy instead of fame. He rarely spoke of fatigue, but his eyes told stories silence could not hide. The world still listened, but only a few truly heard him. 2025. Now 31. Famous around the world, yet the same boy from October. On stage, light. Offstage, a quiet man. In a recent interview, he said words that stayed with everyone. "Even if I stop singing, my silence will still sound like a song." And with that, he closed another chapter. But no one believed it was the end. Because Dimash's voice doesn't just live in the air, it lives in people's hearts. He is the sound between light and shadow, and that sound will never fade.